Welcome to the Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Fanny Mei and Pooja Vittal. Fanny and Pooja are second-year students in our full-time MBA class of 2023, and they are also two of the students leading the planning efforts for this year's Diversity Conference here at the Darden School of Business. I recently connected with Fanny and Pooja, talked more about their backgrounds, how they decided to pursue an MBA, how things went during their first year at business school, the planning efforts for this year's Diversity Conference, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. So without further ado, here is my interview with Fanny Mei and Pooja Vittal. Fanny, Pooja, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's great to have you both here. How's everything going? Fanny, how are you doing?
I'm good. Second year is quite busy, but it's going well.
That's a recurring theme as we've had second year students here on the podcast. Nobody has said, you know what, second year things have really slowed down for me. I just am not sure how to spend my time. That doesn't come up so much. So keeping with the theme. Pooja, how is everything for you?
Same, very busy. They say second year best year, second year busy year for sure, but it's different busy than first year. So it's a lot more of club activities or just a different variation of classes.
And this is also, fall is here. We're recording this officially after the autumnal equinox. So fall, one of the peak seasons in Charlottesville, I think, leaves and all of this kind of stuff. Are y'all enjoying fall if you've officially given yourself over to pumpkin spice lattes and apple cider donuts and these kinds of things?
Not yet, but I'm excited for the apple cider donuts and excited to see the fall foliage. I know I grew up always going to see it in upstate New York, so loved the season last year. Have given in some of the sweaters though. It got a little bit cooler this week, which I was really excited to see.
Fall is also my favorite season, so I'm really excited for the cooler weather, and foliage in Charlottesville is amazing. So I'm really excited to go on some hikes later on in the fall season.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. We got to get at least a seasonal plug in. It is a peak season around Charlottesville. So Pooja, I'm going to come to you with the first question. Tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
Yeah, so I am actually an educator before I came to Darden. So I was a high school math teacher in North Carolina. Grew up in upstate New York, went to school in New York City, and then moved to rural North Carolina, where I taught some absolutely amazing high schoolers for a few years, even during COVID, and basically decided to make that switch from the classroom to graduate school when I realized I wanted to scale up a lot of the work I was doing in my community, where I was being able to directly impact a lot of different things I was seeing, but so much of my children's education was affected by other business sectors and other factors. So I actually was originally hoping to do a law school degree and a business school degree, so JD MBA. I applied to both. But then I ended up getting into MBA round 3 for Darden and kind of made the leap to just do the MBA. And I actually ended up tackling on the Master of Education after reflection on that law school maybe wasn't the right thing for me. Looking back, I don't think I would have enjoyed as much of the readings and things like that. But basically here to continue to think through how I can continue to have an impact on communities and really just continue to learn more as I go through. I think it's been a really cool experience to be able to see all the different leadership skills and technical skills work together as I have reflected in the past few years.
Well, I'm a North Carolinian. Our listeners may know that from some of our other conversations. Where were you in North Carolina?
I was in Oxford, North Carolina, so just north of Durham, Chapel Hill. So they told me, my students told me I had to pick a team when I was there, and I think I did pick the right team.
Yeah, Oxford, North Carolina. Anybody who's driven 95 to 85 heading south, you go right through there. So anybody else is also a North Carolina, the state of North Carolina fan. There you go. So I'm curious, an MBA, was something that you started to think about more and more as you were teaching? Was it something that had been introduced to you and you kind of came back around? Kind of curious about how you landed on MBA in particular.
Yeah, so my dad actually has an MBA. He came to the US to get his MBA from India. So I'd always heard about how much it transformed his life. And I studied business in college. Admittedly, did not follow business post college. So I always say this is my take two on trying this business thing out again. But for me, it's kind of more like the practical skills and the leadership skills where I've been wanted to think through the holistic approach of all the different things that might go into actually managing a process. So whether that is the technical skills, whether it's the management skills. So the MBA seemed like the best fit for that. So when I was thinking about graduate school, a lot of it had to do with like my parents' influence, but also my previous experiences in school.
Thank you for sharing that, Pooja. Fanny, come to you. Same question. Tell us more about you and your background. What did you do before coming to Darden?
I feel like Pooja and I have quite similar background. So I grew up in New York City, born and raised in Brooklyn, and have lived in New York City my entire life. So went to undergrad also in New York City and worked there before coming to Charlottesville. And so it has been a little bit of a change, but that was what I was looking for. I worked for the New York City Department of Education, and so it was on the policy side of things. And we worked with schools, nonprofits, and other organizations to provide supports to students and their families in schools and communities over like New York City. And so it was a really great experience to work in the central office and see some of the decisions that were made in the office and see it in the news that happened like the next day. And I would say that my reason for why I decided to go to business school is to develop more of like the technical skill set. And I wanted to learn more of like the business side of things when one of the projects that I worked on was around investing in like communities and with the different projects that I had, I wanted to understand like how to measure the impact of it and felt that business school would give me more of those like technical analytical skills that I was looking for. So I decided to look into like an MBA for that. I didn't know many people that got an MBA, but felt that an MBA was an opportunity for me to do like a career switch and was more of a catch-all for developing like a skill set that I was looking for.
And Fanny, let's start with you with this particular question. How did you learn about Darden? What got you interested in Darden?
Yeah, so I actually got interested in Darden through the Diversity Conference. And so, which is coming to full circle, being one of the leads for it with Pooja. And the Diversity Conference was a really great experience and exposure to what Darden is. I got a feel of it, and to me, like it felt like it was a place where I could have difficult but like really good conversations, both in the classroom through like the mock cases that we had, but also like outside the classroom the with the current students, but also like the prospective students that I got to interact with. So it was like a really great experience, and it was virtual, but I still got a feel of what Darden would be, and this time it'll be in person, which is even better for people to see what Charlottesville is like.
And Pooja, how did you get interested in Darden?
Yeah, so mine was a bit more of a roundabout journey. I actually had not even considered Darden at first, just thinking a little bit of the history of Charlottesville, but the past few years. But my mom was strongly advocating for Darden. She had been doing her own research when I was applying to school and saw that the case method was there, that it was really well known for professors, that the community was supposed to be really tight knit. And she told me, like, this seems like a good fit for you. Like, you love your academic experience, which is true. I do love the academic part. And so I applied, knew I was going to apply round 2, but couldn't quite get it together to get all the materials together. So I applied round 3. And then what sold me on Darden was my interviewer. My interviewer was a second-year student, and he was just very honest with me about the Darden experience. He didn't hold back any, like, maybe some critiques he had, but he also was a double who, and he just loved the school. He loved the professors that were here. He talked about how much they supported him in his journey. He had also a non-traditional background and was going into a non-traditional industry, trying to be an entrepreneur, which I also knew that I wanted to go into something slightly more non-traditional. So knowing that that was still going to be a possibility for me, and that somebody I had talked to had such a great experience, and it was just a really awesome interview, honestly, that sold me on wanting to come here in the first place. And then it's definitely been a great decision for me, because it's true. Like, I have loved the case method. I've learned a lot. The tight-knit community is great, being in Charlottesville, where we are all around here all the time. So we just have to get to know each other better. And it's been a nice bridge from teaching into whatever is next.
I love that point about your mom doing her own research. That resonates with me. My mom is one of those. All right, you're looking at this. I've got my methods over here. I'm gonna look at this in parallel. I appreciate that.
She will appreciate that I shouted her out for that, because she always makes it known. Don't forget who told you to apply.
So you come to Darden, you're a first-year student. You've been teaching school, and now here you are in a business school environment. What was the adjustment like to be in new school, new people, maybe some new subject matter, even though you had been a business undergrad, as you mentioned? Talk to us about your first year.
Yeah, so definitely was an adjustment to go from teacher to student, where now when I was looking at the professors, I was understanding the pedagogy they were using. So when they would ask a question and wait a few seconds, I was like, oh, I used to do this. So, but it was just a different dynamic. I think that, so I did Darden before Darden, which is this program that you can sign up for that's a week before opening week. And it kind of gives you an intro to what the Darden case method will look like. You're in classes and doing subject matters that you will actually take as a first year, get access to the professors, get to meet people. And I think that was a great transition for me, so that I could get used to being in the classroom again, being on a learning team, and experiencing all the things that Darden's known for. So being in the actual classroom itself was actually not too bad. Like, it definitely is like a little stressful when you're trying to figure out all these different classes at the same time, and especially going into some of the subject matters like accounting and finance, where I felt maybe less comfortable. But I had an amazing learning team that really I get along great with to this day, great friends who helped a lot. I also learned that because I was a teacher, it actually helped me in the classroom in discussions, because I was able to explain things in a way that was a bit more succinct and clear. And it just was honestly, like, looking back, I know that there was stress, but I think all I can really remember is how much I just love the professors and how much I was learning every single day, where it just felt very right to be a first year. I mean, obviously when recruiting and all that happened, that also added the stress. But from a classroom perspective, I was pleasantly surprised by how I was able to handle it. And I actually liked finance way better as a first year than I did in college. In college, I really did not like it. But with the case method, I felt like I actually learned it better.
That's really interesting. And just going from teacher to student and having a perspective on what the teachers or professors are doing, how they're leading the class, the pedagogy, that's super interesting. Fanny, how about for you? You come to Darden, you're a first year student. What was that adjustment process like?
It was also an adjustment for me being in New York City and having to come to Charlottesville. I knew how to drive before, but now I am driving on a regular basis. So that is an adjustment there. But I would say that at Darden, it has been just like a really great experience. I pretty much came with an open mind of things that I wanted to try out. So I really wanted to learn the academics part of it. So the case method and the classes were a really great experience to learn the finance class, accounting, econ, and so on. But I would say I also learned a lot from my extracurriculars like outside the classroom. So I decided to participate in case competitions and like stock pitch competition. So that was also a way for me to apply some of my learning outside the classroom. I also got to connect with my classmates on a closer level because we picked formed teams together and decided to work on this for like multiple days to be able to present this. I also got really involved in just a lot of like the school clubs at Darden with like the Net Impact club, and then also with the first year student admission committee, and then a lot of like the affinity clubs too that I got to attend their like events and just really enjoyed their the learning about like the cultural aspect of with like ABCD, BBSA, dabble a lot of the affinity groups, and it was just a really great place for me to connect with people on various levels.
Question for you about case competitions. Some of our listeners may not know much about what this is, although this is definitely something that business students do at Darden and other schools. So what is a case competition? What does it look like from the participant perspective?
Yes, so there are opportunities for you to participate in case competition throughout your time at business school, and so companies would often have like a case or like a situation that they want business school students to like solve, and so um, you form a team together to be able to like tackle this issue. And so depending on the type of company and the problem, it might be like really specific on there was like a diversity like case, or it could be like really broad as with like impact investing. And you can pick the topic. There are a few like requirements, but it's up to you to define like your thesis and what your focus area is. And the time frame would also like differ. Some of them were like really quick turnaround of within like a week or so, you'd be able to form like a presentation and being able to like record yourself and pitch it. Or like I participated in an impact investing case competition that was like a year long. One where we learn about the process, did like the sourcing for it, and then end up presenting it at the end of the school year. So it really depends on the topic and the type of experience that you're looking for.
Thank you for indulging the question, Fanny. It's one of these things that always think prospective students are, there's so much to learn about when you start looking at MBA programs. There's so many things that people are talking about, and it's typically all new at some point. What's a case competition? You hear about it a lot, but what does it actually look like? So thank you so much for indulging the question. So Pooja, how did you spend your summer? What'd you do this past summer?
I was at Walmart this summer. So I was at Walmart Connect, which is Walmart's advertising arm that was started about 3 years ago. So working in ad tech. So kind of a startup within Walmart, which was pretty cool to work with. I was doing strategy for them, and I was in the Bay Area. So it's the San Bruno office that they have. And it was a really great summer. I had an amazing team. My manager is actually a UVA alum. So she has a lot of pride. And I got to learn a lot about the advertising business in general and what ad tech is for Walmart in particular, and like what our competitive advantage is, while working on 2 really cool projects. One having to do with some corporate development and landscaping targets. So basically doing an analysis of like, okay, here's what the industry looks like. Here's where our gaps are. Here's how we can meet those gaps using partnerships or acquisitions. And then another one was to evaluate a strategy and present it to the president of our business. So it was a great summer to just learn about a completely new industry, but I had a team that was really awesome and just really was engaged in developing me as an intern.
Did your career interest evolve from the time you started as a first-year student to, when you were actually going through the interview process? One of the things that it's always curious to hear, for some students it stays the exact same, and other people that, they have about 3 or 4 ideas before they land on.
Yeah, so I definitely was one of those people who had no idea what I wanted to do when I came to Darden, because when I read all my essays, I had thought I was going to law school, and then so it was a lot about, oh, I'll do this for a few years, and then do this other thing, and none of it had to do with business. So I knew I was interested in tech because I worked a lot with ed tech as a teacher, and knew that there was a lot of power in it, but I wanted to expand my thinking of like what it could be. While I was in core, we took marketing quarter one, and I had this absolutely amazing marketing professor, Tammy Kim, and she made me interested in marketing. So then it kind of pivoted to maybe I'll do marketing in tech. For a brief second, I was interested in consulting and decided it wasn't the right fit for me and what I was interested in doing. So then I went back to tech. And then kind of within that, I was like, okay, anything that is related to marketing, tech, maybe some strategy. That was what I was mostly recruiting for, some general management. And then the Walmart offer kind of was a perfect mix of all of it, where there was a little bit of tech. The marketing part was there because it was literally all this digital marketing that we were doing. But I also got to think long term and strategy, and got to also do a little finance, which I was unexpected, but actually my favorite part of the job. So definitely a lot of different changes and pivots. And even now, as I continue to think about my career, there is probably still uncertainty on what exactly the main long-term goal is. All I know is I just want to be helping people at some point. It's just how can I do that in a way that interests me? Because I like to learn a lot. I like to do different things, and I get bored if I'm doing the same thing over and over. So that's actually kind of why the summer was great, because it gave me multiple projects, so just one.
I appreciate your sharing all of that. And I think it's important for our listeners to hear it, because I think even as we talk with people going through the application process, people feel this weight of like, I have to know exactly what I want to do. And yes, there is a question on the application that says at this time, basically, what are your short-term and long-term career goals? But that at this time piece is a really important part of the question, because at least from our thinking, we were working on that question as an admissions committee. We wanted to signal to candidates that, we fully expect that this will continue to evolve, right? You should be asking questions and reflecting on what you'd like to do, and, hypothesis testing as you go along, and yes or no, maybe choose something else. Maybe you have this conversation that leads you down this path. Like, this is an organic, very living thing. So I appreciate your sharing all of that, Pooja. Fanny, how'd you spend your first year summer?
So I interned at Barnes Noble Education. It was a really great experience. It was in the ed tech space, and it was a remote internship. So I ended up being back home in New York City. I had more of a business development role, and so the product that they had is called Bartleby. It is like a study tool for students to use, and there's a lot of like different features to this product, and they wanted to figure out like what are other ways that they can find that students can find them and that can use their product. And so my project was more looking into different partnerships that available that the company can have for moving forward. And so I actually found my classes and like the extracurriculars really helpful in my summer project. So I developed like a pitch deck for them, and so that was using like my case competition like experience to see like what that would be like and to be able to present this to the larger team. I also had to do like market research and looked into like competitors and like what they're doing. And so that's like using some of like the marketing classes, my finance classes and accounting to look into like how are like the other companies doing, and what can we do that differentiate us, what can we learn. And so, and then on the tech side of things, I got to see the agile like processes of how to improve upon the product. So it was really great to see like the tech side and to see like the sprints that happen on like every 2 weeks. And so with that, I got a mix of both like on the education part and staying true to what I've been like interested in like exploring, but also on the tech side of like what are the technical like features and products that are affecting like education nowadays. So yeah, it was a really great summer experience.
Similar question for you as the one I asked Pooja. Did your career interests change or evolve over the course of that first year?
Yes, it did. I came in with the idea of wanting to do impact investing, and I still have that like interest. And I'm the VP of impact investing for the Net Impact Club, and was involved with impact investing through like the case competition. So that is where I still like kept in touch with that interest of mine and taking the finance classes and so on. But definitely also have explored and learned a lot about like other industries and areas through company briefings, through like the club, the career clubs that we have. And so this is like where it got me like over the summer in the ed tech space. I don't know like for the future also like what that entailed, but really wanting to be in a role where I get to have exposure to like a lot of different like projects and being able to help implement like the strategy of the company.
Well, I appreciate all this good discussion about first year and how you spent the summer. But let's talk about how you're spending your time these days. You mentioned second year, staying busy, a lot going on, and one of the things that's keeping you busy is planning for this year's diversity conference. It's on the horizon. It'll be here in just a few weeks. Fanny, you had shared that this was something that was important to you and helping you get interested in Darden. I wonder, tell us a little bit more about this event. Some of our listeners may not have heard too much about this before. So what is the Diversity Conference?
Yeah, so the Diversity Conference is an opportunity for prospective students to get a feel of Darden. This time around, you'll be in person, so you get to see Charlottesville itself. And there will be a lot of different components to the conference, such as like the mock case, which will get you to see what the case method experience would be like in the classroom. But then we also have a affinity brunch where you'll be able to connect with students that are from the clubs to be able to hear about like their experience that way. And then finally, we have career and industry panels where you'll see like what are some like students thinking about in terms of their career like trajectory, so that it helps with getting a broader range of like the Darden experience.
Pooja, there's lots of ways you can spend your time in the second year. You chose to be one of the leaders for the Diversity Conference planning. What attracted you to this role? What led you to say, this is something I'd like to spend my time on?
Yeah, so I am the VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Darden Student Association, for DSA. And within my role, I can kind of make it a choose your own adventure based on what it is that I want to focus on within Darden and really creating the most inclusive environment possible. And for me, that includes admissions and working with admissions to ensure that we're bringing in a diverse student body and also being able to showcase some of the awesome initiatives that we do have at Darden to these prospective students. So I always wish that I had known about Diversity Conference when I was applying, but because I think I would have really enjoyed having an opportunity to meet people that way. But one of the reasons I wanted to come plan with it or help plan it is that I wanted to help create that experience. And I love meeting prospective students. Last year, one of my favorite events was Darden Days, which Fanny co-planned as the student admissions committee co-chair. And I just loved meeting so many students have been accepted to Darden who are thinking about coming, and having the opportunity to showcase like why I really love Darden and some of the things that I was thinking about and having some more personal conversations. So hoping to bring that into the diversity conference and help in any way I can, just to make sure that it continues to be a place where we are creating a diverse student body that is also concerned about equity and inclusion and creating the best Darden experience.
And Fanny, what led you to say, you know what, I've been involved with planning other conferences, and I definitely want to be involved with planning this year's diversity conference?
Yes, so it brings me to like a full circle of having participated in the diversity conference, and that was one of the main reasons that that I said I really want to come to Darden, I also had a chance to like interview during that time. I know it's a little bit different. You won't be interviewing during the conference, but you'll have an opportunity later on. And my interviewer happened to be a woman of color, and she shared her experience at Darden. And after like I got in, I reached out to her, and she shared like some honest like feedback about like why Darden is a great place, but also where there could be like improvement. And I felt that what is great about Darden is that it's a place where everybody wants to be involved and make it an even better place to be. And through conversations with the diverse group of students, you'll be able to have perspective of how we can create a place of belonging here.
Well, so much goodness has already been shared. I wonder, as you sort of think about diversity conference, its role in terms of introducing people to the community and all that's happening here, but also equity and inclusion and what those sorts of things look like here at Darden. What would you want prospective students to know? Maybe some people are listening to this and like, oh my gosh, this thing, diversity conference, this is really interesting. Fanny, what would you want a prospective student to know about this particular event?
I would say that it is a place where you can ask like honest like questions, and people will tell you both like the good and the bad parts of it. And so we it's a place where we know that it's not perfect, but it's a place where if you want to make a difference and you want to learn and be at like you can see it for yourself, and you can like ask the question, and students will answer it.
Pooja, any thoughts on this question? What would you want a prospective student listener to know about diversity conference?
I want to echo Fanny in saying that's a place where I'll be honest, to get honest opinions about Darden, where people will definitely talk about all the amazing things, but also talk about ways that we can continue to be better. And I think the fact that people are willing to say that and willing to work on that is a huge indicator of how open of a school Darden is to continuing to be better. The second thing is it's a great way to just get a glimpse of the different facets of student life at Darden, whether it is the case that will be facilitated by some of our amazing professors, whether it is a learning team experience, whether it is looking at some of the career panels. All of it is just a way to kind of think through what would it be like to be a student in Charlottesville at Darden. And I think it's just a wonderful way to experience all that and think to yourselves, is this the right place for me? And hopefully it is.
You both have mentioned that last year's conference was virtual, this year in person in Charlottesville. Pooja, what's exciting to you to have folks on ground in Charlottesville?
I think that it's a good way to understand like what the Charlottesville area is like itself. So admittedly, I spend most of my time at Darden because I'm always here for different meetings and all, but honestly, being in the Darden building, like there's so many different areas where students tend to congregate. Being a part of First Coffee, for example, which is that first time block where people tend to meet with each other. So I think being able to experience that part of student life will be really nice. There might be fewer students here because it's fall break, but there'll still be a lot of students here for other activities. And then being able to, it is the fall, as we mentioned at the beginning of this. So the leaves will be turning and being able to experience some of the things that are in Charlottesville. So whether it is going to see the fall foliage, getting some apple cider donuts, going to some of the other wonderful areas in the mountains here. I think it's just also this way to see if it's a good place for me to live in and understand the community.
I will note, just as you were mentioning the donuts, I can think of at least 2 purveyors of cider-based donuts in the Charlottesville metro area. There are likely others. So for folks who are coming here, just know that this is a very real delicacy you could enjoy while you were in Charlottesville. Fanny, what's exciting to you as you think about, all right, this year in person in Charlottesville for the Diversity Conference?
Yeah, so agree with like what Pooja has said. It's really just getting a feel of what Charlottesville and Darden is like. The building is like amazing and super pretty and historical, and just being able to see like the foliage and leaves of as you like come into Charlottesville itself. I would say that it's also just the excitement and the energy from being around people. Darden Days was a much bigger conference, but I was like really enthusiastic and really excited by everyone being here and like really interested and wanting to like be engaged. And so that is like a big excitement of having it in person, and for people to see what it could look like to be at Darden.
You're right that just getting together, being around other prospective students, meeting other people, that is one of the benefits of going through the MBA research or application process. Is you're making all kinds of connections, current students, alumni, but also other prospective students. That tends to be a bit overlooked, but get a whole network through this process. So, Fanny, I wonder what you're looking forward to in the months ahead. Obviously, you're squarely focused on Diversity Conference right now, but are there other things that you're excited about?
I am just excited to embrace like second year, and hopefully I would say second year best year and what that would look like. Right now it is on the busier side with clubs being ramped up and with the classes that I'm taking, but I'm really excited to just take advantage of like the outdoor part of being in Charlottesville, being in New York City. It has just been like a different way of life, and so I want to be more outdoors. Like Shenandoah is actually only 30 minutes away, which is amazing. And then also there's a lot of like the wineries, there's a lot of like hikes that you can take. And so that is what I hope to do in the upcoming months.
Yeah, pretty amazing that Shenandoah National Park is basically right there. I mean, 25, 30-minute drive, very short, lots of hikes in the area. Pooja, what are you looking forward to in the coming months as you work through your second year?
So a few things. So I think on the class level, there's a few classes I'm taking next quarter that I'm just really excited about, including one called Project Management with Yael, who is like just an amazing professor that I've heard really great things about. I enjoyed working with her before. And then, so just getting an opportunity to take classes with professors I'm interested in. Second is in my role as like VP of DEI. I have a few things on the horizon in the next few months that I'm hoping to roll out that I'm hoping can just continue to work on creating that inclusive environment at Darden. So whether that is thinking about structural things that we can really improve, or whether it is just bringing people together for events. So some of the affinity clubs, for example, have some really awesome events coming up, whether it is conferences or the Asian Gala that the Asian Business Club puts together, or Diwali, which is what Indian holiday that the Darden South Asian Society puts together. Always love the expression of cultural exchange that happens in all those things. I just love seeing people enjoy it as well. And then just some traveling I'm looking forward to doing as well on my own personal time during some of the breaks, where now I can feel I can go with some Darden friends and just continue to see a little bit more of the world as the world opens up more.
I appreciate your point about all the celebrations. Before I came to Darden, I'd never been a part of really kind of a small campus community where you had all this stuff going on all the time. It's just constant, and so much happening, so much celebration of cultures and traditions from around the world. That was also new to me. It's one of the great benefits of being a member of the Darden community. So, Pooja, I wonder if you have a piece of advice that you would share with our prospective student listeners, something that you would encourage them to think about as they head on their MBA journeys.
Yeah, so I think so much of the process of applying to MBA and even being an MBA student is reflection. Really reflecting on what you want out of your experience, what it is that you want to be learning, what it is that you're hoping to get out of this experience of being an MBA. And hopefully like that reflection means that you maybe want to be learning new things, pivoting careers. Perhaps you want a community. And if that's the case, like think through like what are the schools that it's going to best fit those needs. And hopefully Darden is. But really think through like not just thinking about what others are doing, think about what you yourself need to do and want to do. And I think that will make a world of difference. And then also listen to your friends and family and definitely take their advice if you want, because they also know you better than you know yourself sometimes, and they can point you in a good direction.
Your point about listen to yourself and the self-reflection, it can be really easy caught up in like the internet echo chamber and Reddit threads and what do y'all think I should do? And you can get pretty far away from listening to yourself just in some of this process and remembering that what you're interested in, what's good for you, in your own estimation, might be a little bit different than what other people are thinking, and that's okay. That's all part of this journey. So, Fanny, you get the last word here. And piece of advice that you would share with our prospective student listeners.
I would say it's understanding your why, like, and of why you want to go to business school, like what your story is, like what has motivated you throughout this process for the decisions that you have made. It'll help you figure out like if this is the right next step for me. And then I would say also like understanding like your priorities. What is it that you want to gain out of your experience, whether it's like the academics part, the career transition, or the social like aspect of it. It could be all of the above too, but knowing your why for this process will help give more clarity as you reflect and write your essays.
Yeah, all that self-reflection. Ideally, you're doing that before you charge out there and start working on your application. It's important to kind of have a sense as you are working through your application of, all right, these are the most important things I want to make sure are included here, because you're not going to be able to share everything. So, to the point both of you made, self-reflection is key throughout this process. So, Pooja, Fanny, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's such a treat talking with all of you, and would also note thank you for such great advice, and thank you for all the work that you're doing, helping plan this year's diversity conference. Can't wait to hear more about it. I know it's going to be a great event.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And that was my interview with Fanny Mei and Pooja Vittal, two second-year students in our full-time MBA class of 2023, and two of the students leading the planning efforts for this year's diversity conference here at the Darden School of Business. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Till next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.